Hey boaters, Keith McGowan here. I am the Outboard Dad, here to help you have a better boating experience. Today we're going to get deeper into this engine rebuild on this 130 horsepower Johnson Looper motor. Don't forget, my used outboard motor buying guides for sale on Amazon right now for $20. I'm offering for a limited time. If you send me proof of purchase to my email, keith@outboarddad.com, I will give you a half-hour session over the phone for free. It's typically a $250 value. So please pick it up and save money, save thousands on your next outboard purchase. Due diligence is key for success. Last episode, we measured the pistons. We measured our cylinder walls to see where we're at. We zeroed out our dial bore gauge so that we know exactly how far we've already gone, and we know how far we have to go to continue this boring process. We also want to make sure we keep the cylinder straight while we're doing this. We don't want to end up with a tapered bore. Now, we don't have too far to go, and those stones that are in now are very straight. And I know that because I labeled them straight. I have other stones that have no labels on them. Some of them are actually, as you see, this section is broken off. But I use these when I have a really rough cylinder that's really poorly damaged, just to get a lot of the crap out of it first before I use my straight stones. And then I flip my straight stones over from time to time and run it in reverse so I don't end up with a taper. And if you remember, we're going to get closer and closer within probably 2 thousandths, and then we're going to do that bottom of the cylinder with my modified stones. So I asked everybody what they wanted to see. You know, if you want me to sit here and watch me bore this, guys said, yes, can you please do that and rebuild my motor? So I'm going to leave the video running. If I'm going to be boring and measuring, you're going to get a couple minutes of that. I won't bore you with all of it, but you'll get an idea of the process. Let me put my mask on. I'm going to get my measuring tool out so I have in my brain how far I need to go, and I'm just going to go a little bit at a time. If I was boring heavier, I would bolt this block to my bench, but I'm not boring that heavy, so you'll see it move around a little bit. I'm just going to take out a little bit at a time. Okay, so looking at my clock here, that's about 10 minutes of boring, and I went from 15 thousandths on one down to, now I have a 1 thousandths clearance, bigger than my piston. Remember, we need to get to 5. This one over here is about a 1/2 thousandth, so I got them pretty close right now where they need to be. This is where we need to start being careful. We don't want to get overzealous with that boring machine with my Sunnen hand hone, which is actually, we're boring the cylinder with this hone. So we don't want to get overzealous and go too big, right? I don't want to go, oops, I went to 5.5 thousandths already and I didn't finish hone yet. Now I'm ordering another set of pistons, right? Now I got these, I'm up on the shelf for the next rebuild. Not that I've ever done that before, but that's how we learn sometimes. Don't go too far first. Now what I'm going to do, since I've got about 4.5 thousandths left to go, I'm going to flip my stones over and go in reverse a little bit just to make sure I'm straight. I'm going to measure the bottom of the cylinder. I did measure it, if you noticed, down a little bit further, and we're pretty close. But we're just going to flip it over because I want my stones to stay straight, especially for the next bore job that I do. And just get it a little bit closer, then we're going to work the bottom of the cylinder with that modified stones, and we'll show you that. taking my time, had the stones flipped over, so I flipped them over. Now we're getting straighter, right? The bottom is almost exactly even. It's by about a half a thousandths off. I'm going to go in a little bit further. I'm at about 2/1000ths on this one over, and I'm about 1/1000ths on the other hole over. So I'm going to do a little more, straighten out my stones, right? Because remember, we want to make sure our tools don't get tapered, because the next one will taper even further and further. And how do I know that? Because when I first started doing this, I was just honing and honing and honing, and each job I did, it took me longer to get the bottom of the cylinder. And I had a great old guy over at Windsor Machine Shop that shared with me what I was doing wrong and how to flip my stones over at the end so that that doesn't happen. Next episode, what are we going to do? We're going to get it closer. I'm going to get it closer to that. Wow, we want to be between 4.5 and 5/1000ths when we're done. I like to be at 5, maybe even 5.5. Let me know your opinions out there, what you think, especially with the Wiseco pistons. So I want to make sure I have enough room for expansion when the motor warms up. So manufacturer has some paperwork on it. Let's take a look at it and see what it says. So basically from Wiseco, we have to ensure proper ring seal, it's necessary, this is cast iron sleeve, that's what we have, cast iron sleeve cylinders, necessary to hone the cylinder with a rigid or brush hone. Do not install a new piston without honing the cylinder to break the glaze. Crosshatch is necessary. If the cylinder's bore size is within the service limits, simply hone. So remember the service limits. Service limits in the book said that could be 4/1000ths over. And we don't want to go that far. We want to keep it tight, but we don't want it so tight. I don't build motors for racing. You can make them tighter. You can make ring gaps tighter. You can bring up your compression. You can get more power. I want longevity out of the motors. So, however, in some cases, boring may be necessary. So, obviously, we're there. Then it talks about plated cylinders. And let's see. Wiseco marine pistons are designed for specific piston bore clearance. Refer to the piston box label for finish bore size. So let's look at the label. Our finish bore size should be 3119. That's what I'm looking at, and that's what we're going to measure to. Something doesn't seem right there because my 3705 for my ring set, 3705. So let's see. Bore, silly, looked at the wrong label. Bore 3705. Now we know where we need to be for our bore size. Let's check our micrometer. So this is measuring our piston. So we are 3701 right now. That's our piston. That gives us 4/1000ths piston wall clearance. Remember, that's what they say, 4.5/1000ths, and I like to go to 5. So we're going to get this out to 5 when it's completed. I might lose a little ring gap, might lose a little compression, but I believe I have more longevity, plus that's what the old timers taught me, and I've had great success doing it. So that's what we're going to do next in the next episode. So please stay tuned, like, subscribe, send me any comments that you have, and I hope to see you out on the water soon. Have a great night.